What is humidity, and how do we provide the right humidity for plants? When water evaporates, it goes from a liquid to a gas. And once it's in the air as a gas, we call that water vapor. Humidity is a measure of how much water vapor we have in the air. That sounds simple, but it's a little more complicated than that because the amount of water that can go into the air depends very much on the temperature. So we measure humidity two different ways. One we call absolute humidity. It's the actual amount of water in the air. Think of it as we count the molecules of water in the air, and that's absolute humidity. It's usually expressed as a number of grams per cubic meter. We also have something called relative humidity. This is the amount of water vapor in the air relative to the temperature. This is the number that most people talk about when they say humidity. For instance, when gardeners talk about the humidity around their plants, they're talking about relative humidity. When the weather forecaster comes on and says, oh, today's humidity is 45%, that's relative humidity. Although almost nobody uses the word relative, we just call it humidity. To understand this a little better, here's a little analogy. Let's say we have 100 people and we put them into a small room. It's really crowded. You might not be able to get any more people in there because it's full. Now we take those 100 people and we put them in a big gymnasium. Now there's lots of room. Still 100 people, but there's lots of space between them. The people are molecules of water vapor. The rooms are the temperature. So when we take a small number of water molecules and we put them into a small room, which is a low temperature, it's crowded and it fills up very quickly. But when we take that same amount of water and we put it into a large room, a high temperature, there's lots more space. Let's say our air is pretty saturated with water. It's 100% humidity. And now the temperature drops. This happens particularly in spring and fall at nighttime. The temperature slowly drops. Now we have too much humidity in the air. What happens? Well, it turns back into water and it settles as water droplets on plants and on our windows. That dew that you see in the morning is due to a drop in temperature and excess water coming out of the air and turning back into a liquid. So how does humidity affect us? And here we're talking relative humidity. When the humidity level is low, less than 30%, the air seems very dry to us. We have dry skin. Our throat gets scratchy. It may even irritate our eyes. When humidity levels are very high, more than 70%, the air feels very sticky. It's muggy. We might even have problems breathing. And we generally feel warmer. Now, why would we feel warmer? Well, our bodies are continually metabolizing. We're continually burning up energy to carry out all the molecular reactions that have to take place to keep us alive. And that creates heat. So our bodies are constantly producing heat. The way we get rid of that heat is by sweating. And sweat is water. So our skin lets some of the water out, and on the surface of our skin, it turns into water vapor, which has a cooling effect. That's what's cooling our bodies. When we're in a high humidity environment, our sweat can't evaporate. The air around us is full. It's saturated. It's 100% humidity. So we can't sweat. And if we can't sweat, we can't cool ourselves. And so we feel warm. How does humidity affect plants? Well, plants also give off water. They kind of sweat. Plant leaves have small holes in them called stomata. And excess water comes out of those holes and evaporates. That does have a cooling effect, just like our sweating does. And it's important to actually cool the plants that way. But there's a more important reason why plants need to get rid of excess water. Water is the main mechanism for them to get nutrients from the soil. So in the roots, the plants pull up water and nutrients. That water and nutrients then flows up the xylem. These are little tubes running up and down the plant. and it runs up to the leaves. And once in the leaves, it lets go of its nutrients so the plants can use those to grow. And now it has too much water, so it has to get rid of it. That excess water that's moving up the plant continually comes out of those stomata. That works very well in dry air, but if the humidity is too high, then plants have the same problem as us. It has trouble getting the water to leave the leaves. It can't enter the air because the air is saturated. If we look at different humidity levels, and again here we're talking about relative humidity, dry air tends to pull moisture out of the plant. And in fact, with plants, it can draw it out faster than the roots can replace it. And you end up with dry leaves, crinkly leaves. Flower buds actually use a lot of moisture, and if they can't get enough because it's evaporating, then they dry up too. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we have high humidity, over 80%. Now the plant has trouble getting rid of its excess water. It's too wet. Mold develops. The leaves develop something called edema. These are little blisters of excess water on the leaves. So you can see that you're not that much different from a plant as far as humidity goes. And in fact, as far as nutrients go and a lot of our metabolism, we're also very similar to plants. But that's a story for another day. Both humans and plants like a humidity of around 50%. If it gets too high, it's not good for us. If it gets too low, it's too dry and it harms us. So we want to aim for that middle range, around 50%. I now keep my home at 50%. If I get more moisture than that, particularly in winter, I'll get condensation on the windows, which is not good for my home. If my humidity drops too low, it's not very comfortable in the winter. We get a lot of colds and scratchy throats. The solution to that is really simple. You have to have enough plants in your home. And in fact, I grow so many streptocarpus right now that it humidifies my home. Before I had all those plants, we were too dry and I was running a humidifier to add moisture to the air. Now I run a dehumidifier to keep it down to 50%. That's the best way to control humidity in a home. Humidifiers or dehumidifiers and get it around 50%. What are the signs on your plants that tell you that it's too dry? Well, here's a list of those. Brown edges on leaves, wilting plants, leaves turning yellow before they should, foliage that dries up and becomes crispy, a higher incidence of spider mites. If you're seeing those problems on your plants, have a look at your humidity. That may be the problem. So how do gardeners increase the humidity around their plants? Well, they've come up with a number of solutions. Unfortunately, most of them don't work. The most common way is to mist your plant. And I see this advice all the time on social. Get out a misting bottle, mist your plants a couple times a day. Does that work? Well, the mist that comes out are little droplets, and they land on the plant leaves. That water then starts to evaporate. Remember, this room is too dry, so evaporation happens fairly quickly. As those droplets are evaporating, they create a moisture layer around the leaves. So it works. There's only one problem. Those droplets don't last very long. So in a dry environment, they may be gone in 15 minutes. Which means you have to come back and spray it again every 15 minutes. Well, nobody does that. And that's why misting really doesn't work. Another very common solution, which I see all the time, is to use a pebble tray. This seems to make so much sense. We take a tray, we put some stones in there, we set the plant on top of that, and then we put a little water in there. We don't want the plant sitting in water. It's above the water, but the water evaporates. And so the idea is the water evaporates and it envelops the plant in high humidity. Plant's much happier. But that's not what happens. As soon as the water molecules in the dish evaporate, turn into a gas, they don't move up around the plant. They move out in all directions, and they move fairly quickly. They're trying to fill the whole room. And in fact, if the door in that room is open, they're trying to fill the air in the whole house. So the pebble tray does increase humidity right above the pebble tray. But by the time you get to the height of the plant, there's almost no increase in humidity. A few years ago, Brian Milligan was good enough to do some testing And these are the numbers that he found. Right above the pebble tray, you increase the humidity by about 3%. Once you get to the top of the pot, you're down to about 1.5%. By the time you get to the main leaves of the plant, you're down to 0%. So even if around the leaves you've increased humidity by 1%, that really isn't going to make any difference. If this plant is in a dry environment, say 20%, we have to increase it by 30%. Not by 1 or 2%. Pebble trays don't work. Now, I've used a method for a number of years that does work. And this is simply a plastic bag, or what we call baggies. So you take your plant, you put it in the plastic bag, and you seal it up. Now we've created a very small room, just the air inside the bag. And that very quickly gets to high humidity levels. Now, this doesn't really work for larger house plants, so it only works in certain situations. If you're taking leaf cutting, say you're propagating African violets or streptocarpus, and you've taken a leaf cutting and you want to put it in soil and then keep the humidity very high until that leaf produces some roots. Stem cuttings are the same way. You need high humidity because that stem has no roots and it takes weeks for them to develop. It's also good for seedling. Now, large seedlings don't really need high humidity around them. I know people use humidity domes. For most of the seeds you germinate, it's not needed. But for fine seeds, you do want it because the seed is laying on top of the soil. So the bottom of the seed is touching wet soil, but the top is in the air. And if the air is too dry, it slows down or may even prevent germination. So with fine seed, what I like to do is sprinkle it on top and then put it in a baggie until they germinate. Now, I know this method works because I use it a lot, but I've never seen any data for it. What kind of humidity do these bags actually create? So I decided to test it. I took a pot of soil, put it in a baggie, closed it up, measured humidity. I also measured the temperature of the room. And when I measured humidity, I would do that over several hours to make sure that the humidity wasn't changing. So I waited until it plateaued. And here are my results. The humidity of the room was 46%. That's relative humidity. The temperature was 22.9 degrees centigrade. When the bag was completely closed, it reached a humidity of 94%. To reach that, I did miss the inside of the bag. I left it for a couple days, and it was pretty consistent at around 94%. I then opened the bag, and this is what I generally do with seedlings and cuttings as they're getting near the end of the process and I want to get them conditioned to room humidity. I just simply open the top of the bag. That means that some humidity will escape, but I'm hoping that the humidity inside the bag is still higher than the room humidity. The bag in this situation was 78%. So even though the bag was now partially open, the humidity was still pretty high. I then opened the bag a bit more, and I usually do this by rolling down the edges. As the height of the bag reduces, you're going to get less and less humidity inside the bag. And what I found here was that the humidity dropped to about 55% over 24 hours. I then added a bit of water into the bottom of the bag. That increased the humidity to about 66% the next day. So even this bag has a humidity that's higher than the room humidity, which was 46%. So this baggie method works great, and you can control the amount of humidity by how much you open the bag. How else can you increase humidity? Well, the easiest solution is to just put your plants in a humid room. Something like a bathroom, for instance, or the kitchen. People suggest that all the time. Again, there's a problem with this method. Now, you know that when you have a shower, you create steam, and that steam fills the room, and when you're done, it's very humid in there. You can tell just by how your skin feels. The problem is that humidity doesn't last very long. Most bathrooms have an exhaust system to decrease that humidity, or if you leave the door open, it exits pretty quickly. It doesn't really work because we want to give these plants the same high humidity all day long. The kitchen has the same problem. When you're cooking, the humidity goes up, but that dissipates pretty quickly afterward. There is one other way to increase humidity around plants, and that is to get a lot of them and grow them close together. Plants that are crowded next to each other help each other with higher humidity. Remember, all these plants are losing water out of their leaves through that stomata, and so they're creating a bit of humidity around the plant. Now, normally that dissipates into the rest of the room, but if you have one plant here and another one right beside it, another one beside that, they're basically creating humidity for each other. So a big clump of plants will have higher humidity than the rest of the room. But even if this method doesn't increase the humidity very much, which is what I suspect, it's a really good reason to go out and buy more plants. So I endorse it fully. Happy gardening. You can find Reality Time on YouTube, Substack, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'll put links to these and our social pages in the description below. If you're interested in gardening, check out my YouTube channel called Garden Fundamentals or my blog called Garden Myths. Let the truth shine into your life.